Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or good day wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the next episode of No Dice, No Glory. Sponsored by our jobs that actually pay us money, we're coming to you not at all live from an abandoned arms factory deep under a mountain in West Virginia. We are proud to proffer to you the finest in wargaming coverage. Without any further ado, let's get this show on the road.
Gotcha.
Hey, well, welcome everybody. Once again, Sean bringing us in. It's I think it's been a month since I went to Sean's wedding, and he's still married, guys. But no time for gaming. That's what he says. I asked him, is your wife a gamer? And he goes, not as much as me, but she's coming around. And I'm thinking, yeah, what can you do? So anyway, today we have another amazing interview. I have with me Mike Riddick, and he's going to talk about his game Magnum Opus. Mike and I met a few years ago at a fall-in at the Host, and talking about, his store's gaming club down there, but Mike's also a game designer. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the man of the moment. Mike, tell us a little bit about your gaming background. When did you start?
All right. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, anytime.
Back in the early 70s, believe it or not.
What, really?
Oh, yeah. Early 70s. Crazy how it kind of happened.
Yeah.
In high school, as a freshman, I was kind of the class clown / popular guy. And I got a lot of stay after schools with the teachers. And I had to stay after school with one of the teachers I did not want to. She was called the Bird Lady. And she was really good on the biology side of doing birds and leaves and all the stuff you had to do in high school. And she was super strict. But we had to go to the library and stay after school for punishment for not doing what we were supposed to do. And we had to kind of draw straws to see if we can go back there and see what she was doing in the back so we can clown some more. And I lost. So I had to go and...
Is this show going to lose its E rating?
Oh, no.
Okay. It's
brilliant.
fine. We usually lose it in the middle, not in the beginning, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So my deal was to climb on the hands and knees and crawl back behind there and see what she was doing in the back of the library and signal everybody else so we can goof off. While I was crawling in the back, they had glass showcases like you see in jewelry stores or gaming stores where they have the cards behind them. I was crawling down, trying to stay low so she couldn't see my reflection. And when I was crawling by there, I looked inside the showcase, and she had to have had thousands of 15mm Napoleonics. And I came to a grinding halt. I was so mesmerized that I was like, wow, what are these? I played with army men, but I've never seen anything like this. And I'm looking, and she walked in on me. What are you doing back here? And I'm like, oh, I was just looking. She's like, you're not supposed to be out here. You're supposed to be out there sitting quietly. But I just want to look at these soldiers. She's like, no, those are mine. Don't touch them. I'm like, well, did you paint them? She's like, well, yeah, but get back out there. And she started to realize I was so interested. She said, all right, I'm going to tell you a little bit, but you got to go back out there. And she sat there and explained to me about toy soldiers and gaming and all that. And I asked her, I said, if I come tomorrow, can I look at them? Come back here and look at them. She's like, you going to get in trouble? I'm like, well, I just want to come and look at them. She said, if you don't get any trouble, you can come back and look. Didn't get any trouble the next day. Short story. Got there, and from that point on, I was hooked. Had to have it.
That, to me, is an amazing story, and it's from meeting you a bunch of times. Next time I see you, I'm just going to have to. I just wouldn't expect that. I'm just going to have to give you a hard time because usually guys try to get women into gaming. Do you still speak to the Bird Lady?
Oh, well, she's probably long gone. I'm pretty old myself, but. She became from the most hated teacher to the one that I would kind of have a wink at and go, hey, how are we doing? She called me, not getting any trouble. No, ma'am, I'm doing good. I wanted to be able to come back there and look at those soldiers and let her explain to me how the game was played. And that just intrigued me. I was used to just playing army men and, when like little boys do, shoot them with plungers and BB guns and pretend. She actually knew a little bit of history and could kind of captivate my attention for longer than most.
What rule set? Hey, I got to ask that question.
At the time back then, I don't even know. After that, I went and bought my first war game, which was Squad Leader. And couldn't even understand the rules. So my mom, of course, back then we didn't have internet, would have to show me how to do the rules so I can teach my little brothers how to play. And she would like, go get the encyclopedias. Back there, everybody had encyclopedias. That was Google.
Yeah.
Encyclopedias, grab a dictionary, let's sit down. So basically, I was doing homework until I learned how. And then I had to teach my other brothers how to play, and I had to do a little highlighting. It was homework. But, at the time, I didn't think of it that way. I was getting to play a game that I thought was so cool, and airfix soldiers and plastic things from there on.
You remember those old Matchbox soldiers that would come 40 in a package?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because you and I think, are around the same age. But we don't
Yeah.
talk age here. It's a hate-free zone. Did you get into Napoleonics? And do you still play Napoleonics?
Never got into Napoleonics. I ended up painting for people. I would paint guys, soldiers, and little things like that. When you were a kid. Stuck with war games. I got in the military, believe it or not. Could never find war games. Nobody was really, put it truly, was cool enough to be around me and play toy soldiers until I stumbled across a guy down in Cap Lejeune. Mr. Fish, he worked in the Pentagon. He worked in the Pentagon, the transportation guy. And he asked me would I paint some stuff for him. I was like, sure, I paint everything. I play Warhammer and do all these things, and I paint for a living. I painted race cars for a while, so I was kind of known. I painted some of his figures. He's like, hey, why don't you come to a convention with me? I'm like, I'm not into that. No. Talked me into going to Historicon with him, and he said, you just ride with me. You don't have to pay for a hotel or nothing. I just need somebody to keep me company. I rode with him. He ended up being one of my favorite mentors. And then he started introducing me to actual playing historic war games.
That is an amazing story. Wow. That is awesome. And you're a retired Marine too.
Oh yeah. 20 plus.
Yeah.
20 plus.
I got to tell you though, you say you couldn't find anybody down there. I don't think that's the case today.
No, I think it's that I didn't know where to look.
Yeah.
When you're young, and even in my middle ages of the Marine Corps, I wasn't going to be in certain places to actually be exposed to it, and I didn't know what it looked for. I just thought I was a painter. I knew how to get soldiers in magazines. We didn't have the internet big when I was in the Marine Corps. It was just getting into being common. So by the time I figured out wargaming and all that good stuff, I was in the twilight of my career, and I just didn't frequent those places.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to get to your painting, but before I get to your painting, I want to get into Magnum Opus,
Yes.
which is a game you wrote, and I've read a couple of times. And for everybody's FYI out there, I was supposed to do this interview weeks ago. Schedules couldn't line up, but I'm glad to have you now. And Magnum Opus is a skirmish ancients game. Is that what led to you? You've probably played a ton of ancients. What was that deciding moment where you go, I just got to write it. I got to write a game that I like, or a game that the community needs? How'd that happen?
Well, I got into the ancients playing really historicals when I went to that particular Historicon with Mr. Fish. They had Warhammer Ancients was big.
Yeah.
And I could understand the Warhammer world, the rule sets are very, very kind of universal. So I could understand. So I sat there and just watched for hours. And I sat there and watched for hours. Like, man, I could do this. And after I sat there and watched for hours, guys actually invited me. Said, well, I got an army. Why don't you come and play? So I sat down and kind of went through the mechanics. And I understood it. And I played it for years. And I got all the guys up here to ride up there. All the young guys are in high school or in 7th or 8th grade. I would actually ask their parents to let them ride up there with me because they went to the shop I went to. So I would, if they behaved and did well, it's kind of the deal we made. They would be allowed to go, and I would ask their parents, and their parents allowed me to drive them all the way up there, and that was as far as they ever went without having parental guidance with them other than myself. And of course, being a Marine, it's no big deal. I was like, I'm going to be on my best behavior. And we go up there and play, and they understood how to play Warhammer Ancients. Once that game went defunct, when GW kind of closed it down, we still played, but there was no fresh information, no eye candy, nothing to support it. And I really got frustrated. And I know Rob Broom from GW, and I know a few GW guys because I used to work there. So I said, you know what? If I could write it, I would write my own. I'll just take the old rules and I'll fix them. And the more I tried to fix them, I just kept changing it. So finally I said, you know what? If I could do anything, I would write my own rules. So I wrote up dummy rules when I worked at the prison for many years, federal prison. I worked there, and I would sit there in the dark working night shift and just fancy it out.
That's Tell people that's not where we met.
No, that is not where we met. Even though I can honestly say, you meet some characters in there. They would definitely be interesting to the wargaming community. They're the same, surprisingly.
Well, they do call it the Gladiator Academy, right?
Oh, yes, sir, they do. Yes,
Yeah,
sir. They do. Never a dull moment.
I know. Yeah, I tell you what. So I read through this, and I don't play Ancients. I think people know that. But then again, 4 months ago, I said I don't play Medieval, and you know what I'm painting now is Agincourt, the Perry boxes.
Ah, awesome, awesome.
Yeah, and I think the last time I recorded a podcast, or no, it's so you remember when I saw you last? So I ran into Mike at Nova Open, and I said, I think I told you I started painting again,
Yes, yes, yes. Which is
and
always
I
my favorite part.
I finished 3,473 epic black powder miniatures, and I
Ooh.
got to play it the week after, actually with two Marines and an Army guy. But looking at the rules, it's about 112 pages, which is not a lot when you look at some other rules too. Um, Tell us a little bit about okay, that's I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write this game, and tell us a bit about what you like about it and what you wanted to put in the game to give gamers a different experience.
Yeah, yes, sir. Uh, the biggest thing is I've always liked when I walk through the convention and watch those guys play those large scale games with lots of miniatures. It's appealing to the new guys, and I've always had a little bit of a rough edge about how come I didn't see a lot of younger guys there. But I always noticed when I got around the guys who played a lot of the Warhammer and sci-fi games, they like lots of dice and lots of miniatures. So I wanted my game to have that allure that you play these large games, which you see at the convention in some of those systems, and lots of dice. Whereas a lot of guys don't like using a lot of dice at the convention. Some of those gaming systems like to minimize the dice. So I wanted to make sure it had the thing that allured to guys who didn't have to be historic, but were gamers to get new guys in. So we have lots of dice. We have large scale units and large scale battles. You can play small scale as well. And I wanted the system to be easy to learn, like they often do in some of the other systems. Something that they can look at and not know anything about history, but I can play this game. And then once they play the game, and if they like the system, they'll pick up the history later. So that's my
Yeah,
approach, kind of put it the other way around.
and that comes out in the book. Like I said, I usually will try to get like a test game in, even if I proxy. But this game is for big, beautiful tables.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. We want them to catch, a lot of eye candy. Because
Yeah, it
when
is.
you're down here, you don't have a lot of historic guys. It's really rare down here where I'm at in North Carolina. The first thing I got to do is I got to get bodies. I need players. I need guys to catch their interest. So when they see those tables set up at the shop, every young man, oh man, Army man, this is cool. What is this? What kind of game is this? I got your attention. I
Uh
explain it
huh.
to them. Oh, it's sort of like this, but it's like that. Okay, you can catch on to the rules real quick. Now I have the second element. Now the third one is to get you to sit down, grab some dice, and let's roll and have some fun.
Yeah, it's great.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, from reading this book, it will have future releases. It looks like this book. Well, it looks like. I mean, I'm looking at it as we speak. Um, it's focusing on Rome.
We
Uh,
definitely want to either have something that everybody can understand. Rome is something you don't have to be a history buff to go, wow, I know what that is.
they had a
And that's,
miniseries about it.
yes, sir. And when we first got it set up at the shop, we did the Roman Civil War, and that's one of the first supplements that I did. And crazy enough, all my old troops and the new troops, I call them my new troops, the new guys who are young, every one of them in the book have an element that help. I have one that's a lawyer who's very well written. I have another guy who's a book author, another guy who's a big time gamer, travels all over the country playing big games. So each one added an element to help me put it together to get the balance that we needed.
How long did that take?
I actually wrote it little bits at a time when I worked at the prison years ago. When we had COVID, couldn't go anywhere. We were on lockdown. I start trying to find things to do, and I pulled it up and I said, you know what? I'm going to work on this every day, at least put a couple of hours in. So during the time of lockdown, I went through and put all the pieces and parts together. I called guys, we talked on the phone, and I put it together, and I finally got it finished, and I gave them all a look-see. So during the time we were on lockdown, about a year time, I sat down and I put it all together, including the 16 of the 24 supplements that we have roughed out.
Yeah, yeah. You're going to have a bunch of supplements. We're going to get you to talk about two, but it's you have Rome's campaign in Gaul. It looks like in Britannia as well.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I kind of notice, like, so when I read a lot, I read a lot of rules. I sometimes can't follow the game. This one, I really had no problems. And do you think that's because ancients, like medieval, it's just close and kill, or
I'd
because
like
of the what you tried to do with the rules?
I'd like to think it's a mix of both. People can kind of picture how it should be playing out because a lot of these battles are known, or the armies are known. You know, you got the civilized world supposedly was going to be with the Romans, and then you're going to have the barbaric world. They get that, and it was a back and forth and a lot of battles. So it's easier to get a grasp on it. So when you're reading the rules, you know where it's going to go. I'm hoping that's what we brought, because that's what we were looking for, something that you can relate to, whether you are a big history buff or not. And then when you start playing the rules, it kind of puts the picture together. Oh, I saw that one. That's when all these guys attack those guys. I don't have to know all of the ins and outs of everything. I just know Romans versus the barbarians. And I know about rolling dice, and I could read those numbers. And then after a while, everything else falls into place. That was the goal.
Yeah, and you definitely achieved that. I
Thank
do
you.
want to get I do want to get to let me see. It looks like we have uh some folks here that just want to listen in. It's fine. Just you know.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, so you definitely achieved that, but you're focusing on new players, and I think that's really important. And I think a lot of games often kind of forget that, where they think they're diehard grognogs that play their game, and they will put terminology in there that just confuses new players, because new players, the sex appeal of that table, it's going to hook them. The beautiful
Right,
miniatures, which I want to
right.
get to because I saw your paint work, and then they go and will get a game, and they just don't understand it.
It's hard
So
to break through. It really is. That was one of the biggest goals that got me going to keep going to conventions. I kind of went through this same thing working in law enforcement. A
yeah,
lot of the old guys were set in their ways, and they couldn't see beyond backwards. They looking in the rearview mirror. I'm in the
yeah,
windshield kind of guy, and I wanted to be able to appeal. I actually wrote an article years ago for a racing magazine. We're talking about old blood, new blood, and
yeah,
I kind of brought that up at the convention. A lot of guys kind of put off. Some of the older guys are kind of put off, and
yeah,
I understand. You do have fun with your guys, but your guys aren't new guys. They're the old guys. You got to make it tasty for the new guys who have never played before. And guys go, man, it's fun if you just play it. And all these guys love it. And I'm like, but these are your guys.
yeah.
We got to get new guys that can have their own guys. You know.
I,
So
I recorded one time at a ASL convention. You and I both played squad leader at one time, so
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
And I'm there, and I was talking to the guys at MMP about modernizing the game. It's those little counters and those silhouettes, you know, you know what I mean? And the Russian with the eye patch. It really isn't
Oh
an eye
my,
patch, but you know
yeah.
what I'm talking about.
And we
But
loved it because that was our past.
yeah,
But you got to
but
update it.
one thing I told, he goes, well, these guys don't want to modernize the game. They love it because it hasn't changed. And I said, the
Right.
only thing I can tell you about these guys that in 20 years they'll all be gone. And I
Yeah.
don't see too many new people in there. And whenever I speak to a game designer that wants to, looks at games of inclusion to get the new blood in there, I'm always fascinated by it. And by the way, very few times have I had that conversation with people because they
Right.
don't think about that.
It's hard. It's hard. As I used to tell my old mentor, he used to tell me, it's like, hey man, they see all the new plans on the dry erase board, but there's this one thing they don't see and they don't get. It's like, hey, I don't see me up there. And it's like, yeah, about that.
Yeah,
You got to change or you're going to be outdated.
I know. But you have had veteran, I'm sure, Ancients players play this, and how do they receive the game?
They liked it because they can taste the old flavor from the old games that it was kind of based off of. Remember how you played this? Yeah. Remember how we
Yeah.
did that? Yeah. This is how I came up with this. Oh, well, that makes total sense. So they have that little bit of exception that, okay, so you got a little bit of me in there. And for the new guys, they're like, so all I have to do is this and that. Yeah. And that's how I do this. Yes. Because they're gamers. And I know one of the guys down here, he's old as I am, and he's like, I like this game because it reminds me of the old games. I'm like, well, that wasn't the goal, but that was a part of the ingredients. I have to put something in that you could taste, but we need to get these new guys involved because they don't care. They don't want a history lesson. They want to have fun. The history will come later. It's like, how come these guys are better than those guys? Well, it's kind of based off of, and I could give them a little taste of history without them feeling like they have to learn history to enjoy it.
When I read it, which I kind of noticed right away with this, the writing style in it, you're explaining it, where instead of just having a rule where people are like, I don't know what the hell this is, I'm going to play it wrong all the time. You explain it, even when you get to like the stat chart. Well, the first number of the slash, and it's I'm just going to ask, I'll put you on the spot. Did you think back to How Do I Train Marines?
Yeah, it really does, because sometimes it's such a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. You're marching, guys. Check it out. You're marching.
Right. Yeah. It's I noticed it right away, and I thought, like, okay, but more games I think also need to be written like that. I found some rule sets reading very difficult. And look, yeah, my BFF John Russell, not knocking, but when I play a game like Black Powder recently, when I play Bolt Action, the book is 80% fluff, and they bury their own rules in the game. There's no narrative within that rule book that is teaching me the game. But you had an interesting story about 20 minutes ago about with your mother and learning the game, because I mean, what were you, 11?
Yeah, it was right around
Yeah.
around that time.
So, did you go back to your 11-year-old self and like, what I had the hardest time with is reading and understanding, but the narrative in this it just explains it. I like that.
When I went in the Marine Corps, I was super quiet guy, because I was super respectful. That's the way my mom and my parents raised me.
Yeah.
And in the Marine Corps, you had to know your place. When I went in the Marine Corps, you just didn't run your mouth. But I remember her, I used to say, yeah, they make you have to do this and make you have to do that. And she says, just remember, if you know what you're talking about and you talk about what you know, it gets easy. So I always try to remember that. Even when I wrote the rules, I was like, I'm going to write something that once you kind of hear it, you know this stuff. You know how to roll dice.
Yeah.
You understand how to move the little guys around when you play games. And once you start learning it, when you were there, I don't know if you remember, the guys kept saying, well, how does this work? I'm like, I don't know. We have to look it up. And I remember a guy across the table was like, you don't know your own rules? It's like, when I write these rules, we go through and we do a whole little, sit down about how it should be written and how it should be laid out there to give to everyone to receive. Once we have it, we have it. I said, I erased my board. He's like, why do you do that? It's like, I don't want to be the go-to lawyer on how to play my game. Hey, this is how you do this. That's not, you're not doing it right. And all the guys around me knew those rules. Jake and those guys knew the rules. Hey, I read so-and-so. You're right. And they're like, how do you not know that? It's like, it's not that I don't know it, but I don't keep it in the front of my nose that I know it all. This is your game, guys. It's not my game. This is your game.
Wow.
When you get those rules, this is your game. Learn your game and make it fun. I want you to enjoy it. I can enjoy it easily. When you go to the convention, like you said, those guys love their guys. But those guys are far and few between every year, getting thinner.
I know.
I want my game to be your game. And when you come up here and say, look, we got our group and we play your game all the time. No, you play your game, guys. Tell me how you like it. What do you like it? What do you don't like about it? I wanted you to do this. I wanted you to be able to do that. Well, yeah, but what we like is so and so. Because one of the young guys who helped me, when I asked him, he's a board gamer. I mean, he plays every game. He's not a historic guy, but he's a rules lawyer. He goes,
Yeah.
why do you always ask me and you always get mad? I said, I get mad when you start poking holes in it. I said, because I'm figuring I didn't make it airtight and it can't be too tight. So when you poke holes in it, I got to figure out how to fix it. And that's where you come in. Poke holes in it and give me solutions. And he's done a great job with helping me out. Carlos helps me out with it. And then he goes, well, maybe you can look at it like this. And sometimes it's like, no, that's too far from what I'm trying to do. And sometimes I'm like, let's talk about it tomorrow after I forgot about it. And we sit down and talk about those rules. And sometimes I'll come back. It's like, you know what? I want to do it like you said, but this is what I want. And he started taking interest. Well, explain to me why you want it that way. And now he's taking the interest. And then he comes back. How about this? And I like that. Give me some feedback. You've taken it home. You've internalized it. You bring it back to me and say, how about this? Now we're working together as a team. So that's why I say I have a team of guys who are players / developers. And they're like, man, I can't believe you let me help you with your game. I said, no, man, you helped me with the game is going to be your game one day. Let's do this.
I'm going to say this. I talk to a lot of game designers, a ton of game designers. Never had a designer in the conversation or on this that had that approach to it. And by the way, guys that write their own games are often horrible at it because they have, revision creep. As they fine tune their rules, they're like, wait, hold on. It happens to a lot of, like, Mike Tunis from Firelock's just bad at his own game. But he acts confident while he's doing it. But that is an interesting kind of approach. You do realize nobody else does that, right?
I really did not, be honest with you, sir.
You thought they all did it like that?
I never have. I've written rules as a kid. When you're a kid, you always make your own games.
Of course.
But I never had to do something official. And when I figured I didn't know, and I learned this from Mr. Fish, who worked at the Pentagon, and he told me a story about a Russian general. He was supposed to give this big speech about all this stuff, and a lot of it dealt with armor and artillery. Of course, he knows nothing about, but he has experts who do. And this guy's trying to prompt him. It's like, I'm trying to get you prepped, man. Sir, you need to know this stuff. They expect you to know it. He says, I know it all. Anything they know, I'll have answers. It's like, but sir, you got to sit down and let me prep you. You're supposed to be the expert. He turned around and looked at this guy, his aide, and he goes, I am the expert of experts. If I don't know something, I know who does. And I always remembered that. So I said, I'm not the expert on games, but I'm the expert on experts. I got a lot of guys in our shop who play a lot of games, and they know what they like and what they don't like. And if I could get them to understand what I want to do, I think they'll, and it worked out. They sit down, hey, I'm a rules lawyer. I'm going to poke holes in it, and I'm going to say, I think I know how to fix it. And I got another guy over here who's a historic guy, my lawyer who was in the Marine Corps. He got out. One of my troops, he's a lawyer in the Marine Corps. And he's like, well, this needs to be written better. And I got another guy who's a major. He was my little trainee back in the day. He was the one that I used to have his dad, has to ask his dad, can he stay at the shop? He was a major. And he says, hey, I like this, but I don't understand this. And we all sat down and everybody gave their part and brought it together. I was like, this is what I want. And they all came back and they kept giving me input. And I got it together. I was like, how about this? When I gave it back to him, a lot of guys said, hey, I want to play. Like Jake, I want to play this game. And I was like, I don't know if that'll work for anybody else. But if it worked for you guys, I'm happy because you know what? One at a time. That's how you save a drowning victim. One at a time.
Yep. Yeah, and we're gonna bash Jake in this for a little bit. So he was up here in the area, and I said, come over for dinner Friday night. And I go out and I got some nice tri-tip, and because I try to be a good host. I text him, when you coming over? We had an extended happy hour. So, I texted him today. One is, hey, I'm finally talking to Mike. And the other one is, I kind of want to see what's up. Yeah, he's a PNG here. I did want to play the game. So you brought this to the last Historicon.
Yes, sir, I did. And
that was a beautiful table. And I said, did you paint all that?
All the miniatures I painted.
Yeah.
475 miniatures in a year. That was the number that I did.
Wow.
And I promised myself that I would do 5 guys a week minimum, meaning at least I could do one a day. So I should be able to do 5 guys a week. And then some days I would do 5 guys in a day, etc. And I would put it out there on my little Instagram until I got them all done. And I brought them to the shop. I was like, you know what? All the guys that were complete, I'm put them out there was 475 in 1 year.
Yeah, well, because you're a better painter than me. I painted all that black powder in 61 days, but it shows. They look horrible. But you know what it is? They're so small. Who cares? But
Yeah, but don't believe that
you're
I'm an artist. I was an artist by trade. I was a commercial artist when I was in high school.
you have a talent, though.
I pick it up from other guys. Art is something I inherited from my parents. But once I started moving around in the Marine Corps, like I said, I was in college when I was freshman in high school. I got a scholarship to go to IUPUI, Heron Fine Art. So I was a kid with grown-ups. And because I was taught to be really respectful, I listened to a lot. And some of you might look at as hippies, bestowed a lot of information on me on how to go into things. So I do a lot of teaching now. So the guy with the beard that you saw up there, he won twice at Nova in the painting contest. He's medaled, done really, really well. Now he teaches classes. We just teach his class last week. He teaches classes once a month now. And he was a guy who like, I don't even know what these guys are. What is this game you guys play? And now he's full-fledged commission painter. So
Yeah, you got some talent.
Thank you.
When I do my medieval, thank God it's mostly silver paint. I have all the bad habits of most painters. You know, one of the things, just to go back, you mentioned about the iterative process that you went through with this game. And
Yeah.
I work with a lot of designers, mostly in the board game space, quite a bit in the miniatures. And they come to me because they want that honest feedback. But when you give it to them, they get so upset. You don't understand. This is my baby. That is not something that handicaps you whatsoever.
No. Learned that in Marine Corps, and you're always changing the plan. And being a tactical guy, nothing is ever like they write it. I got
That's
this.
right.
This is the plan. This is what we're gonna do, and you start immediately poking holes in it. And as soon as you get us, like, we can make this work, and they come back and go, change 2, change 3, change 4. You know how that is in the military.
I do.
Change. 2/3
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah. You just have some guy back in, battalion command post that, no, do it as written. But yeah, you have to improvise. And to tell you the truth, another refreshing thing from this is nobody does that. They all are like, hey, we're, I found this problem. Go to hell. You don't know what you're looking at. I've had guys that have brought me their game designs, and I give it an honest read. I don't want to waste their time. And you should see the email I get back. It's, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. Now, that could be true. That could totally be true. But I am trying to help you. And today we were talking about at work playtesting and about my approach to playtesting. And I did an article on it. People don't like, people will always ask me to playtest, but people hate playtesting with me because I play the hell out of the game. I logic trace the rules. If the game does this, where's the rule? Do the rules flow? You don't have that problem. You did a very good job here, but you know how those guys are, or a lot of designers are. I I applaud. I applaud that. I think more game designers need to do that. I do stuff with a lot of different board gaming groups, and I still, like with Zenobia, and I know I told you about that trying to get folks like that in the gaming space.
Yes, sir.
And they don't look to, now that I'm getting all this mentoring to publish a game at the end of this 1 year process. Their games are not meant for others to follow, where they're trying to swing for that Charles S. Roberts Award. Hopefully none of them listen to it. I have a Zenobia call in an hour. But that's one of the things I noticed. Now I made it, so screw everybody else behind me. You just don't have that approach, and it's really refreshing. I wish more designers would do that. So let's talk about the game. Has been out for how long at this point
Um,
officially?
2 years. I started getting prints 2 years ago.
And you have here a lot of supplements. So right now you have one Caesar Civil War, but your future release list is about 20 something games.
Yes,
Are you going to use this game engine, these
yes,
mechanics, for all of
absolutely.
these others?
Absolutely. And every time you get a supplement, anything that might need to be in there is like, instead of keep trying to put in rules, like this is the one thing I made a really big mistake. Every time it's like, well, this won't work in that particular area. I need to put that in the rule book. So when they play,
Yeah.
and one of the young guys was like, why don't you just put it in the supplement? I was like, yeah, I'm going to put it in the supplement, but I don't want, he's like, relax. I think you got it covered. And remember, whatever doesn't work, you can always fix it later. You're looking too far ahead. And he really helped me out, young man.
Yeah.
20 years old. And I was like, man, good approach. He says, that's how they do in the regular games when I play. Sometimes they'll go through and just keep coming up with FAQs. It's like, but put in the supplement, see how it goes in the supplement. And then if it's something that you really need, you can always have an updated supplement for the rules later.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I kind of took a breath. I was like, good. Thanks. I needed that. So that's where I'm at.
So I'm going to go through some of these here. How many of them are getting close to hitting print
Uh,
of your future
I
releases?
at least close to 10. Bellum's Caesar Civil War, Bellum Civile.
Yeah.
It is ready for print. We're just going through, and we have our little team. We broke them up into 3 sections and let each person read through them and poke holes in it for spelling errors or anything like that. And then we come back and see if we all hit the same boat. Because you look with your own eyes, you see what you like and what you don't like. And we kind of come back, and we're starting to get to where now we look for certain things and come back and say, okay, you check this part and check that part, and then we'll flip flop. So we have the Civil War, Golden Age is ready to go. The Crusade is still in its work. Reconquista is done. Northman is done. We are working on the Far East supplement, Bushido. That is close, nearing done. Dracul is ready to go. And now we have the Pike and Shot is in its about midway through. And the only reason I put a little fire under that, Jake is really big into that, and he's working with the Pike and Shot on the Polish Commonwealth, and I love the Polish Commonwealth and the Ottomans. So because we have some donations from a couple of people who helped out, we're painting those miniatures roughly. So I had to at least put a little fire under my boots to get those going, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just picked up by Fire and Sword, which Jake loves, and maybe that's why he didn't come over for dinner. I'm like, hey, you want to play some Fire and Sword? Can you bring it with you? This is a week before he came. He goes, no, I'm going from one TAD to another, and I'm like, yeah, I got to get somebody to teach me the game because being Polish myself, I find that stuff interesting, and Winged Hussars looks so damn cool. What is
Oh,
Dracul about? Is it about a Romanian?
it will have Romania, it'll have Wallachia, have Ottomans, it'll have the Hungary, all those in the Eastern Renaissance period. But it particularly goes into Vlad's era because he's so popular. It's one of the things I want to put on there because once people see Dracul and see Vlad, I don't have to put out a lot of advertisement, and it draws them to an era and an area of Europe that a lot of people don't know about if they're not historic.
Yeah.
So they'll get in there and go, man, I like that. What do I do to play that? And they're open up to it. So that was kind of my thing with the advertisement. If I put things on the cover and in the name that people can, quickly relate to, it's easier to want them to want to try and read it and get into it and all that good stuff.
I've been to Bucharest, Otopeni Airport, and it says, "Thank you for visiting," in English. "Thank you for visiting Romania. Please go home and tell people we're not all vampires," because that's part of their culture, and the
Yeah.
fact that we've kind of fantasized him a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, if you go to any, I remember the girl at the hotel, and because I was trying to find an English book on him, I still have the English book on Dracula. I hate to say, I got it 20 something years. I've still not read it. Because she explained the entire book to me, like
Wow.
all about him, and I picked up in one of their downtown malls It's an interesting city, a wooden Dracula. He was a real guy, and but they just kind of go with it because for marketing. Eh,
Yeah.
it, it's kind of good, but yeah. Are you going to have Nandor the Relentless in the game?
That is one of we're working on. Our newest thing is for the second edition, and I say second edition,
Yeah.
future editions, that we work on characters and how they're going to play into the game, because we don't want the gamer side where it's like this broken character that changes the game, but we don't want it to be just a piece of paper stuck on there and he has no. So we're working on little things like traits and things that
Yeah.
will bring flavor to the game. That
Because he was a
really,
real vampire.
that's what we need to have, is things in there that people go, "You didn't know that? Wow!"
Yeah.
That's where it's going to get those young guys are going to be really hyped up.
And that, hey, everybody, it was a relentless. I mean, sorry, that was
Blood drinkers.
yeah, to What We Do in the Shadows, which is funny as hell. It is so
Yeah.
funny. It's a good show about a bunch of vampires that live in Staten Island. That is not a paid advertisement. I just find it a very funny show. And I one of the things too, like especially with Blood and Plunder, Blood and Valor, and some of the other games, is adding that pulpiness of the period where these
Yeah.
larger than life characters can play. I think gamers enjoy that. Do you enjoy playing with some of these, in some cases, fictionalized?
Yeah, because it's a little flavor. It's an escape from reality, but it's kind of fun. I don't want it to be like you just sit there and go, "Okay, you are these guys." American Civil War.
Yeah.
I'm not an American Civil War fan, but I do love the lore and the stories behind it. So why can't it be fun like that? Sure.
A pulpy type Civil War game would be interesting, like Skirmish.
Oh,
Do you know when I played my first American Civil War miniatures game?
when?
Last week.
Really?
Yeah, I read a lot about it, and I play a lot of board games about it. Um, it just for miniatures. I I I don't know why I never did. Why? I'll tell you why. Because I got a lot of unpainted lead. What am I gonna get rid of
Don't
to
we
play another
all,
game?
right?
Yeah, I know.
Piles of shame.
Yeah,
I
the pile of shame, and it just never with miniatures. It just, I don't know, never really kind of got there.
You'd have never heard me say anything about American Civil War because it just wasn't my thing. But I met an English guy one time, and he was just so animated about it. Oh, I love the
Oh my
American
God,
Civil
yeah.
War. And, oh, they're like the American Special Forces, the Iron Brigade, these guys. And he sounded so motivated. And I was like, I definitely got to work on that supplement. And Warlord Games actually let us play the test version of Glory Hallelujah. They sent testers, so I had to do a little bit of homework and get some guys interested and paint some miniatures. So I was like, hey, got to be there. It's a big part of the gaming world. You got to have it.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's, and people say black powder sucks, and I even write in the article. I don't know. I Playing black powder didn't motivate me to write it. It was that, I mean, to paint them. It was that, look, if I don't paint that, and I got it as soon as it came out, and if I don't paint that, my life is not going to be as fulfilled. And we played it. We actually had a good time. If I'm going to play with troops lined up like that, Napoleonics, but
It's
I'm
very,
not.
I've learned it's very clubby, the
Yeah.
black powder. And it took a while for me to get it. And one of the young guys in here looked at it. It's like, I don't understand. And the older guy was like, well, a lot of this is kind of legitimately a game, kind of some buddies getting together and having a good time and playing the game. And I've learned to appreciate it a lot more that I look at it that way, because as an American gamer, I mean, when we play the dreaded Warhammer, the guys from England look at us and go, "You guys are way too serious. You guys are way too competitive." But that's just the way we are. Different areas, we have a different approach to things. So I had to look at it from like, those guys are really sit down, have a beer, as they say, have a pint, and enjoy each other and have fun. Where we get a little competitive and like, I don't like the way these guys play. They're like, hey,
So
wait a minute.
I spent some time of my misguided younger years living in the UK, and my landlord, when he saw them unpacking my books with all of the Civil War books,
Mm.
he came by all the time, wanted to talk Civil War, and it was awesome. He knew more than
Yeah, isn't it
90
motivating?
percent. Yeah.
Somebody else telling you about your history, and it's like, dude, you make it sound so great. You're making me like it, and I thought I'd never like it.
But in retort, he said to me, because I wanted to talk about Napoleonics, he goes, Waterloo wasn't the only battle. And I go, I know. It's just what I've read. I've read mostly about Waterloo. It's so well written about. We just had that guy Tim on a few weeks ago. Excellent, talking to him about Waterloo. It's it's the other thing about England. Their events are not like ours. If you go to a salute or if you go
They
around
tell
playing
me.
games,
That's what they
they
tell me. Oh
what was
man.
that?
That's what they
They
tell me. I was like, man, I always wanted to go, and somebody's like, it's not what you think. And when they explain it, I was like, man, you just, it's like it's different. It's something you definitely want to, you want
they
to go to.
enjoy playing the game. They don't care who wins.
Yeah.
There are some old guys. They call them wankers. Go figure. But um, it's there's nothing better than the table next to you. There's two rules lawyers playing against each other, and it always ends in an argument. But I noticed there too, and this is going back many years. The games take a little bit longer. They enjoy, but they know the history behind it. And Civil War Miniatures was huge. I never played it out there.
Wow.
I just never, because I wasn't a miniatures player back then. Believe it or not, I was 20 something years, 25 years ago, my man. Yeah, I'm not young. I'm not young either. But it's kind of a different vibe they have, and I think that's awesome. When you go to our tournaments, it's all about winning, and I've seen people leave playing different games competitively because of that. And then you have the whole throng of players that play at local game stores that will never play in a tournament. So I
Right.
think all is well. So Jake just texted me back.
Oh, that guy. Speaking of
You
wanker.
I'm gonna text him too. Are you drunk?
It should
Yeah.
be at dinner, or he went to go see his sweetheart.
He doesn't talk about his personal life, I notice.
Yeah, you got to catch him. He's an odd guy. That's why I guess we get along. I'm pretty odd myself.
We're gamers, right? Goes without saying.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I said, "Are you drunk?" Mike and I want to know, but yeah, I'm glad to hear he's doing well. I'm not happy, Jake. When you listen to this, the home front was just not a little happy. Like, when are we gonna eat? When are we gonna eat? He's like, dude, I know how those office hours are, and plus, I know the crowd he runs with probably every day out there. I get
Oh,
it,
yeah.
I get it, but yeah, it's he's a good guy, and I
Yes, he
love
is.
seeing you two guys at events.
Oh, we
I
go at it and have a good time, but we go at it. We go
You
at
go
it.
at it, yeah. Like, so when I went up last time, I actually played in the Blunder Plunder tournament, and I let the Tales of the Sales, or the Talesmen as I call them, which means something else to other people, play to run the tournament. And I played Jake the first game, and I loved playing with him because he's all right. I got this back. Am I drunk right now? I can be. Give me 7 minutes. Love you, man.
That's him.
Yeah, and yeah. I look forward to seeing him again. Like I said, I would have seen him a month ago. Jake, if you're not feeling bad from hearing this, I don't know what is. And you know how he is. He's a good guy. I
Yeah,
like him.
he's a good guy. He's a unique guy. He grows on you really fast. I remember he first came to the shop. I was like, man, who is this guy in the Coast Guard? And he's like, why do you keep saying that? I was like, you're in the Coast Guard, right? He's like, what? I was like, you have to be in the Coast Guard. And then we got to talking and talking, and he really grew on me. When he's
Why do
not
you
there,
think
it's
he
kind
was
of
in the
boring.
Coast Guard?
Oh well, being in the job that he does, you have to have a relaxed standard at times, depending on what he has to do. So I just didn't see it that way. Being an old guy, I'm like, what's with the haircut, man? The lack of a
Yep.
haircut. What's with the mustache? And the more we talked, now I look at him and I laugh, and it just becomes a ha ha moment. Now it's like, hey man, I just got a haircut. I'm like, yeah. All right, hippie, come on in here. Have a seat.
Thanks for him not saying, "What are you in the Air Force?" I I personally appreciate that. It would have been just as true, but I guess Coast Guard's a bigger thing, and all those guys are like that.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
I
I did gaming with him. You and I are going to have to get together in game at the
definitely
next
look
event.
forward to it. Definitely look
But
forward to it. I always enjoy talking to you.
you mentioned shop.
Yes, hobby
Tell
chest.
us. Let's. You know, we're gonna promo the hell out of this book. Yeah, that's without saying. Tell us about
And
the shop.
the hobby chest is a hobby shop outside of Camp Lejeune. Dan owns and runs it, and we all go there and help as best we can because Dan is really super stubborn, greatest guy in the world. He's like a mentor to me. 32
Yeah.
years. 32 years. It's been there, and it's been turning and burning ever since. Uh, has a little bit of everything. He supports everything. He helps us out. I mean, we go to the convention. I remember I had to take his son when he was in high school, and it was a snowstorm, and we are going up to Lancaster, and he was like, "What kind of car are you taking?" I said, "I'm taking my Firebird," and he was like, "No, take my minivan. I don't want you guys, cramped up in some little sports." Great guy. We
Yeah.
support Lejeune, and a lot of Marines come through there. And I can tell you, we went to a few big conventions outside of there in Tennessee. They've been down to Georgia, Las Vegas. Alex actually flew to England, and every time we went someplace, somebody goes, "Where you guys from?" We go, "Jacksonville." And they're like, "Florida?" I'm like, "No, no, no, no. North Carolina." It's like, "North Carolina?" It's like, "Camp Lejeune." They go, "Camp Lejeune? You wouldn't happen to know a little shop?" I was like, "Hobby Chest?" "Yeah, that's it." They had a guy, Daniel Leone. "Yeah, he's still there, still there." They literally fly back. A couple of guys flew back last summer who had gotten out of Marine Corps, gotten in a whole nother field, has a career, married with kids, and they flew all the way back. One flew all the way back from Hawaii, other one from Colorado, just to see Dan. So it's a great place. Guys grew up there, and now their kids are growing up there.
So outside of Lejeune, now my new job, there's a good chance I'll be down there, so I get to go
Awesome.
there. I'm looking forward to that. But are Marines wargaming? Because they didn't when you were
They
down
are
there your
war
first time
games.
around.
They do. But now I know because at the shop, guys will come in and buy certain things, and Dan will look at me and go, "That guy came and bought a box of Perry this," or "That guy came in and I said, 'You got a black powder book?'" "Yeah, guy asked for it." And then we have a war game site on Facebook. I think it's North Carolina Wargaming Society. Those guys come in now on Fridays because we have a paint corner. Every Friday we paint. Just like tonight, we went there and paint, and guys learn how to paint. That's where we met Jake at. They learn how to paint. They learn how to model, and that's a new thing because a lot of guys have never been exposed to it. Now those guys come by and go, "Man, I have this army or I have these soldiers. Bring them by. Bring your stuff." And they park at the table, and we sit there and talk like a bunch of old ladies and have a good time. And sometimes it's just an update to see how far you got and where you're going with it.
Yeah, it's as a lot of folks know, wargaming is big
Yes.
within the DoD. But today I got to sit in on the it's called MORS, Military Operational Research Society.
Ooh.
I'm going to say that those guys really aren't war gamers, but all right, they're going to excommunicate me again. But one of the things, it was about an article about how the Marines are leading everybody in innovative wargaming. A friend of mine, Nick, who just got hired to be a wargamer for State Department, teaches war he runs war games at CME, which is I don't know what that stands for, but it's an enlisted development. It's I guess one of the NCO schools. They develop
Mm.
curriculum. It's right there in Quantico. I went into his office, and here's a guy that's like 30, never been in the military, but like he's a fun, smart guy. And then in walks what's an E7? That's a master
Gunny.
gunnery sergeant. Gunny.
Gunny. Gunny. Yeah, Gunner, sorry.
What's an E? I should know this.
Master Sergeant is E8.
Master Sergeant comes in, and this guy is just, and I'm like, what do you think of this kid? He's smart. We'll keep him. Just like you expect to. And I'm like, if I were you, every time he says something stupid, I'd just go outside and smack him. And the guy's like, just rolls, pulls his eyes over. He goes, thoughts cross my mind. And I'm like, because some of you guys are right out of casting.
Hey, that's the way it is. That's the way it is.
Yeah. But, one of the things, too, and a lot of people ask about defense wargaming, what's the difference? And how does hobby gaming fit in? Those young Marines hopefully will become senior NCOs. Some of them may become, those lieutenants become officers. They will have to play in a war game one time or another. And what I've always noticed, and I may have even said this to you before in our conversations face to face, that they fight the game, they see the dice, they don't like it. This is Dungeons and Dragons, and the Krulak Center, and I'll give Tim another shout out today. They're changing all that because now in all of these Marine Corps courses, they're doing wargaming. And on the 6th of December, I'm actually supporting Mr. Barrick over there from Krulak Center. He's running for all the students that are at Quantico, which all the Marines out there know. You got to go to Quantico one time or another for some type of training. And especially, if you're an officer, you have to go through TBS.
Yeah.
And it's for Quantico wide to come and play Napoleonic games on the 6th of December. And, here you have somebody that was just like us, a lifelong gamer. He was the guy that I played at his brother's house. And I'll tell you what, playing Civil War against two brothers, one a Marine, one an Annapolis grad, the other one an USMA grad, and watch, it was real brother against brother. But like one guy had to leave and they go, why don't we play this out until every unit got whipped? And I'm like, these guys are just like, wow. But it's changing that culture when they come to a work war game that they don't fight it. And in a way, you're adding to that by what percentage of your customers are Marines? I've been down there. I've been down to Camp Lejeune.
99.
99%?
Oh, yeah.
And one Coast Guard guy.
Yeah, the Coast Guard guy.
One Coast Guard guy. But,
one Coast Guard guy. Bunch of docs.
I'll give a plug to, and Marine Corps Wargaming. They're doing it. And this little talk today was about how they are really investing from culture, education, and analysis, and they're building a beautiful center, Mike, which I'll send you
awesome.
An article about too. And if you ever buy, I used to offer people Pentagon tours.
Yes, sir.
You buy Quantico, you come by.
Man, that's awesome. I often go up there and train at F&H in Stafford.
I'm one of the so it's right down the street.
Yeah.
And just taking you around and some of the other cool stuff they're doing. So, it's, I know you're saying you're having remorse now. Like, why couldn't they have this when I was in?
Yeah.
But they needed it. And even they even have some of these students, especially through Kula, they play miniatures games too, because it's a different experience. I often say you play a board game against somebody, you play a miniatures game with them, but to watch them go and play these miniature games. And at some point, I love this, they realize it's a game, and they realize that they're often playing like ancients. And here you got Marines of all ranks, warrior culture. At some point, they drop that years of training and some time and mentoring and doctrine, and they start playing and enjoying the game. They're hyper competitive, man. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But it is so interesting to see that the Marine Corps is doing that. And in a way, you're adding to that. And I definitely I'm going to thank you for that, and some people will figure out why.
Well, thank
know,
you.
yeah, no. It's and also I'm going to apologize in public. This has been far too long.
Uh-oh.
You've been so great about it, and I feel bad. It's just the
No,
last few weeks have been hell.
I can only guess.
Yeah, because I got to tell you the truth, man. My first time working for you guys, and I came home today. I was exhausted, but
Hey, we're an odd bunch. I know.
yeah, it's class and quality people, just like I would expect. But it's they'll work through lunch. They don't take lunches, and yeah, they're it's that's the thing I've always enjoyed about Marines. What did they say in Few Good Men? They Is there anything I should know? They like being Marines, and it's a great culture. And now wargaming's a part of it, which I think is amazing.
That is
And
awesome.
and when you get them in your shop, tell them that there's a Marine Corps Wargaming Center.
Oh, I definitely am. I definitely
Yeah.
am.
Oh, I'm going to
I
send you some links, my friend.
I know this is going to perk their ears up because when guys of all ages walk into the shop and see somebody out there playing that, I've watched many a guy go in there and stop, and mothers stop and look and stand there for like 15, 20 minutes and
Yeah.
ask the simplest questions. But I can see the wheels turning. What is this? What is that? And listen to you talk. And it's part of the new age where a lot of guys play videos and they don't have person to person contact to watch people interact, talk, and you can come up there and literally don't have to know anyone, sit there and watch and take it all in. It's more than a bridge that is being crossed there in
Yeah.
today's world.
It's awesome as hell. So while I'm going to blather on here, I'm going to send you a 1-minute video, and I want to get your reaction live, if that's fine, of it too. And if you really like it, I'll just hit us up on the webpage, and I'll put it on there too. So I
Awesome.
send it. Hopefully you can see it. But it's just looking at how the Marines are incorporating all that. It's feel free to show this to people that come in the store, and if they want to learn more, get in touch with me, my man. It's I think your approach to using this as a tool, your game, Magnum Opus, which we're going to go in a minute before we sign off and tell people how to get it, to me is amazing that it's a tool to bring people in to start playing games. A lot of games, just game designers just don't do that. They preach to the masses, which they want to make some money. You get the link yet, sir?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. These two captains.
I think one's a captain, the other one is actually the NCO works for me now. But
yeah, so Sergeant and the
yeah,
captain made it here.
yeah. Well, the captain just PCS'd out, but it's pretty cool. And then you see the building, right? That's a beautiful building.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. I'm liking
yeah.
this foot, getting me motivated.
Is it really? Are you gonna PT?
Man, I want to go out here and put some rounds down range. Some good shots here.
Yeah. So
Oh
2 days
wow, this
ago,
map. Yeah.
and that game there,
Beautiful
that's
building.
that's an amazing game. I'm gonna get to play it next week, and yeah, I mean, if look, I don't care who you are. If this doesn't get you physically excited, your soul's dead. Your soul's dead.
This
But
is awesome.
yeah, all the stuff are tools that the Marine Corps is using, and they're bringing into that building over there too. People are like, "What? What is it? This was supposed to be about Magnum Opus. I didn't sign up for any of this. It's okay. It's okay." But in a way, people that go through your store will play these games, and I'm going to thank you now for they're not going to fight the game. They're going to come
Uh,
They're going to train. They're going to educate themselves. They're going to have a good time. So I so appreciate that. But we're yeah. So, but in a way, you're building our building too, my man. So, where can I get Magnum Opus?
Right now, I am bringing it up to the convention and just getting it out. And when we go into our final phase and start doing the master copies, that's when we're going to start using distributing.
So
Right now
right
when we come to
now,
the convention, we're coming up there to get feedback and seeing how guys are doing and walking around. And like I met you, it's great to go
you
out there
know,
and just meet people and to get it all set up and say, all right, now we know who the people are, where we need to go, and who we need to focus on.
that was 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Really?
I think it was 6 years ago at Fallen.
It might
No,
be.
Cold Wars. It's Cold Wars.
Cold Wars. Yeah. I'm old, man. Memory's gone.
No, it's not. No, it's not. You remember all these rules. Wait. You just said before you don't, but
Yeah.
it's well, you remember certain things. The uh, the uh, the game will be available where folks can order it. I hope in the future.
Yes, it will be. And when it does, we'll have it all set up. We're working on our advertisement. We have our cards. We're actually trying to set up, hopefully, to get more people like yourself who
Yeah,
touch so many involved to come by and have a sit down game with guys who are just like you guys. And then I feel if we can do a good job of having you guys come out and you guys have a good time, your followers will do the same.
I don't have followers. A cult leader is my next job. Well, let's be honest. As close as I'm going to get to a cult is being a gamer, for crying out loud. But will you sell it from the store where people can order it in the future?
Yes, that is the plan.
All
That
right.
is the
Well,
plan. And
you're
I'm
going
still
to.
learning. I'm still learning like most, writing and putting this together was an experience. Now I am starting to try to learn on how to do the distribution as well as some Kickstarters for the future.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to definitely need to talk about that offline. But Mike, thanks. This was awesome. I think your approach is unique. I I think that from reading this game, and I read the rules, I'm going to go 3 times in full in one shot. That I enjoyed reading it. It actually explains the game, and when it's good enough, I like to take some screen grabs of this and put it out there to a lot of
More than
young
that,
game designers because they go, "How do I write rules?" And I'm like, "Just look at rules. Well, that's how you write rules." But you have a style I think more gamers should try to copy. And by golly, I'm going to make sure that happens. But
I'll
if
send you
you,
some PDFs of some of the stuff and some of the supplements because I really
yeah,
appreciate you giving me some time and
no, you're going to come back,
really
as these
grateful for your
games.
feedback.
No, well, I'll tell you, I feel horrible, that it took so long, but it was well worth it. Tell us about the store one more time.
The Hobby Chest.
The
Uh,
Hobby Chest.
the Hobby Chest.
And it's right outside Camp. What's
Right
that?
outside Camp Lejeune.
Henderson.
You
What's the
come
name of
up
the
to Camp
town?
Lejeune, you're going to be in Jacksonville, North Carolina.
Yeah. So I've been there for my friend's change of command. God, you guys do those things well too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
They do it a little too often. I don't miss that.
Yeah, I know, because guys had to
I don't
march, and I'm like, I didn't
I
get a
don't-
parade for my change of command.
As my
I
wife said, my wife said you have to walk in those straight lines and be in step. Yeah.
Yeah, but let's be honest, you probably still walk in step when you're with another person.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Habits. You just can't get out of it.
Can't get on.
So,
It's a life. It's a lifestyle now.
so if you like ancients, we'll keep you here at No Dice and Glory informed of where and when you can get this. If you don't see Mike at a convention, and I'm going to hate to say this, I've always wanted to play ancients, but I said that too. Blood and Crowns and the excitement of Eric Hansen got me into it.
Well,
And
that's awesome.
from reading this and the excitement of you, yeah, I'm gonna have to paint some of these ancients. So, and now every time I say to Eric, oh, look, I just picked this up. And oh, by the way, F you. Because it's all I need is more stuff. But I've been meaning to get into this too. But thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed it.
It's been too long, but I'm going to send it back to Sean in the studio and check out Magnum Opus.
Thanks so much for joining the show tonight. Remember to follow us on Twitter at No Dice, No Glory, and keep the conversation going on NoDiceNoGlory.com, now featuring our own message boards. Have a great night, everybody.